you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. And ladies and gentlemen, when the Iron Lady sings, that makes it official. Welcome to 2,600 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. 16 years, going on 17, of just amazing authors, minds, stories being shared on the Chris Voss Show. Refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives, or else go to Facebook.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, wherever you find us on the interwebs.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his insights, his experience, and the eyes. The eyes have it, as they say. Is that what they say? I don't know if that's what they say. He's the author of the book called Hey Doc, What's Wrong with My Eye? A General Guide to Eye Symptoms, out June 29th, 2017. John C. Barber joins us on the show. We're going to be talking to him about his books. And he has spent a career in academic ophthalmology during his fellowship in corneal diseases at Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary in Boston. He began working with corneal prosthetics or prosthesis. He has conducted research on cholinesterase inhibition, serum antiproteases in the cornea, and the development of effective corneal work. His fields have come from all together in his book, which describes the development of keratoprothesis. He's implanted more than 60 in cat eyes. Welcome to the show. How are you, John?
I'm doing fine. You're doing great with the pronunciation there. That's good.
Oh, well, thank you. I flunked medical school, clearly.
Oh, I see.
So give us a .coms. Where can people find out more about you on the interwebs?
Pardon my...
On the .coms, give me your .com website.
Yeah, johncbarber.com.
So give us
MD out.
Okay. So give us a 30,000 overview of your new book.
Well, the new book, I was at a party, a French Bastille Day party, and several people came up to me and say, "Hey, Doc, what's wrong with my eye?" And I decided people needed to have more information about their eyes. So I sat down and wrote the book.
Yeah.
I had 40 years of experience with eyes, so I'm used to explaining it in lay terms, not fancy medical terms. So I decided to write it for the general public. Although one of my ophthalmology friends tells me that it'd be a good book for beginning residents because you could read it in 1 or 2 nights and have a big background of what's going on with the eyes and what people come in and complain about, what to do about it.
The eyes are an important thing. My eyes started failing me as a child around 10. My teachers were like, "Why are you squinting so hard at the screen?" And it's because I'm like, "Well, I'm just trying to focus in." They go, "Well, you might want to check into that, you know." You might have a thing. And that's when I discovered that I needed glasses. And that chicks aren't into guys with glasses, but I was, it scarred me at 12. So, but then I developed
in my book about problems like nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, things like that. Presbyopia, where you get to be about 45, you can't read the fine print anymore. And I was on a radio talk show once, and I recommended that people go to the drugstore. Buy drugstore glasses, and they got all over me about it. But that's all you really need. If you don't wear glasses, you can't read the fine print. You go to the drugstore and get 150 or 250 glasses. I recommend you take some fine print with you, try on the glasses, and see what it takes to read. That's all you need to do to fix that.
Oh, really?
Okay, so now, if you wear glasses, you have to add something to the glasses to make them readers.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't wear glasses, you can usually just use dime store glasses. They're a lot cheaper.
Oh, wow. Okay. There
I
you
was
go.
in the desert in Morocco one time, and we visited some Bedouins, and this woman was making yarn out of camel hair, and she was squinting real hard at it while she was spinning it. And I gave her a pair of 250s. She put them on, and she smiled so broadly and looked at me. And that night, a little boy walked into camp, and we were camping in the desert, and a little boy walked in and said, "I want a pair of those glasses for my mother, too." And so I managed to have another pair. I usually took about half a dozen pairs
Oh, wow.
when I went to foreign countries, especially places like Morocco, Mongolia,
Mm-hmm.
and gave them out there, and people were very happy with them.
Oh, yeah. It's good to be able to see. I mean, that's the one thing. I wake up in the morning and my eyesight's so bad. I have to try and find my glasses. Sometimes I use my phone and use the camera on my phone to find my glasses on my desk. And so I have to try when I go to bed at night, put them down. And then I got keratoconus. I noticed there was some medical terms that I was saying there in your bio. Is that related to keratoconus?
Well, cara is the word for the cornea.
Okay.
And so your cornea is cone-shaped rather than dome-shaped.
Yeah.
And that's hard to correct with glasses.
Yeah.
You can use a contact lens that vaults over the dome and gives you a new surface, and that works. Otherwise, you get a corneal transplant, get rid of the cone, go back to the sphere. And that's what I did at Boston for 2 years. I learned how to do corneal transplants.
Oh, I hear the method's gotten better now these days with lasers and different things, I guess, maybe.
Well, there's a way to shrink the cornea and pull the cone down. And that's been worked on for the last 20 or 30 years. They're finally getting it perfected to where it works for minor cases, and you can pull that cone back down or make it spherical, and patients see much better.
That is awesome, man. I mean, I'm just hoping that if I ever get to the point of corneal transplant, they have something that comes along. My uncle this is like 20 years ago, had corneal transplant, and he had to have it done twice because it didn't take, or I don't know, whatever, the cornea wasn't working. I know there's some sort of thing that they can do for me that is supposed to slow the damage. I think it's a corneal thing, or it's something that they do with keratoconus, and I can't find the data on it right off the top of my thing, but there's something they can do now. Anyway, there's an old, I don't know if you
just approved the latest way to do that, where you take eye drops and then they hit it with a laser, and that makes it shrink.
Oh, yeah.
It was just approved, I think, last week by the FDA.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That would really be cool with me. Sounds like anything beats, doing that full surgery with the keratoconus. Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of the joke. There's a guy goes into his eye doctor and he says, "Doctor, every time I drink coffee, I get eye pain, really sharp." And then the doctor says, "Do you ever take your spoon out of your coffee before you drink it?"
That's good.
You probably heard a few of those jokes over the years. So why'd you write this book? What did you want people to know about this? Some of the details you offer in it.
Well, while I was writing the book, I was working at a party, helping serve the wine, and the other fellow says, "Well, I've been getting these flashes and floaters. Does that mean anything?" And that maybe just means that the jelly in the eye is separated from the back of the eye, and you get this, or maybe you just pulled a hole in the retina and it's starting to detach.
Oh. And
this fellow didn't have a clue that that's what this meant. So I thought, well, I've got a little chapter in there about that, where as you age, the jelly in the eye kind of shrinks a little bit.
Oh.
And when it shrinks, if it's stuck to the retina any place, it'll pull on the retina, and it may tear a hole in the retina.
Oh.
And then the fluid in the eye can get behind the retina, and the retina detaches. This fellow went to see his ophthalmologist the next day and had a retina detachment, got it fixed, and did fine after that. But it's one of the symptoms that brings people into a says suddenly we've got fireworks in the eye.
Yeah.
And the fireworks are the bursts around where the vitreous is tugging on the retina.
Mm-hmm.
And then the floaters are when you tear off a little bit of it and it floats around.
Oh.
I had a lady that came to see me. She said she had this thing in her vision that looked like a cockroach. And after the third time calling the guys to get rid of the cockroaches, she finally came to see me, and she had this floater in the eye that had the shape of a cockroach, and she kept seeing it in her kitchen. And but there's the floaters usually get used to them if they don't mean anything. There are a lot of times it's just a wrinkling of the back surface of that jelly that pulls off and it bunches up and it makes a little floater. And you can't get rid of them. If you went in with a vitrectomy instrument to take them out, it's like getting a speck out of Jell-O.
Ooh.
You know, you're going to cause a whole lot more disturbance than you started with. So you usually don't take them out unless they're really bad. I had one patient that had bad vision as a child, and it went away in one eye and ruined the other eye. But he had this membrane that hung down in his eye. And when he was driving down the road, it would swing in front of his vision and block out his vision. So he was afraid to drive. And they had bought a recreational vehicle. He was going to retire and drive around the country with it, but he chickened out. He couldn't see well enough. And I took that out for him. And one of the dangers of taking that out is you can pull the retina off, which is bad. And so I had a retina surgeon work with me, and we saw a little wisp of blood come through the pupil. So we immediately examined him, found a little hole, and fixed it on the table during the operation. And he came back to see me a year later. He'd been all over the country in his recreational vehicle, had a great time. And he said his wife, and he could quit threatening to divorce him because he retired at home. And so I don't know whether I saved that marriage or not. We'll find out.
Well, being able to see works good in a marriage. Sometimes not being able to see works good in a marriage.
That might yeah.
Getting old, yeah.
Depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. So now in your book, what do you hope people come away with in reading it? Can they get a better idea of some of the different eye issues they might be experiencing?
Well, I had one friend that read it, and he told me that it scared the heck out of him because he didn't know that many things could go wrong with the eye.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other hand, I do put in a basic course, about 3 or 4 pages, on the anatomy of the eye and how it works. And so just reading the first chapter will teach you a little bit about the eye, and you'll know more about it and be able to respond better to whatever happens.
You got to protect your eyesight. That's true.
Right. I put another chapter in about eye surgery, and what to expect from a cataract operation, a retinal detachment procedure, or an operation to straighten crossed eyes, that kind of thing. What the surgery involves. It may take away some of the fear people have of eye surgery.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have fear of eye surgery because I hate anybody mucking with my eyes. It's not fun, and you're just kind of like, hey, they're my eyes. But you really realize how important your eye ocular health is when you lose it. So you want to take care of it before that happens, right? Do you talk about how to take care of your eye?
Wear your goggles when you play squash. I've seen a few people got hit in the eye with a squash ball.
Oh, geez.
Didn't do well with it.
Oh, so, wow. That doesn't sound like something.
You got to wear your goggles.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, always wear eye protection, folks. Very important. What other things can we learn from your book? And I think you have another book too you wanted to plug.
Yeah. Well, I was professor of ophthalmology and chairman of the department in Texas for 18 years. And part of that is I attended the University Professors of Ophthalmology meetings. And it became apparent talking to the different professors that a lot of the medical schools were cutting out the time they spent on ophthalmology, more time on MRIs and CTs and things like that, and not as much time on ophthalmology. And so I wrote a book mostly for ophthalmology residents or doctors that want to know more about the eye, and it's called Examination of the Eye Made Easy. And I taught in medical schools. I taught a lot of students how to examine the eye. You start off with a simple pen light, move it around, see how the eyes move. Then you zoom in and you see how the pupil reacts. And you use the pen light to examine the eye closely, the eyelids, the surface of the eye. And then one of the chapters is about using the ophthalmoscope, the instrument that they hold in the hand and look in your eye. And you can examine the back of the eye with that. A lot of people have a lot of trouble learning how to do that. And I learned a lot of tricks during the 40 years of teaching that. And I put those in a book to help students and doctors. Now, I have several doctors, when I go see them, they never look in my eye. And the last sentence of the introduction of the book is that a doctor who doesn't look in the eye does himself and his patients a disservice. Because there's so many things you can learn by looking inside the eye, like diabetes, hypertension, lupus, things like that, that you can diagnose by looking in the eye. And if they skip that, they skip a valuable tool of diagnosis. And, I used to teach physical diagnosis in medical school and teach the part about the eye. And we talk about the back of the eye as the posterior pole. And a student came to me one time and says, I can see the back of the eye, but I can't see a pole back there. And he was looking for a barber pole at the back of the eye, so it didn't work.
I've had keratoconus for 30 years, I think, 20 or 30 years. There's lots of debate on how that's given. Some people say it's genetic. Others say maybe you rubbed your eye too much when you were a kid. I don't know. Have you found or heard anything of consistent data?
I've heard all of those.
Yeah.
And people that have a lot of allergies and rub their eyes a lot tend to get keratoconus. So that's where that came from. Although it tends to run in families. So that makes it genetic. So it may be a combination of things that the cornea is layers of collagen, kind of like leather. And if you keep rubbing leather, it will stretch. And so that lends credence to the idea that it's rubbing your eyes too much. But a lot of people haven't had allergies or anything, and they get keratoconus. So it may be just genetic. I think both theories may be valid.
Yeah. I had one doctor. No, I had two doctors, one in Vegas, one in Utah. They said a lot of their patients come from pioneers, and they think it's from pioneer inbreeding. I don't know if that's true or not. But then I had another doctor say he sees a lot of it in the Latino community. And I don't know. That's why I kind of ask. I've heard a million reasons as to whatever at this
Children
point.
with trisomy 23, mongoloid disease, get keratoconus.
Oh, really?
And it's a difficult thing when you operate because you have a person that has the IQ of a child and they want to rub their eyes after surgery, which is not good.
Yeah. And
I've had a number of people that came to me because they had a corneal transplant and they rubbed their eyes.
Oh, wow.
And it came loose or broke or something. Jeez. And you have to repair it. And, some of them are sweet little kids. They're 30-year-old little kids. And they want to do right, but they just don't know better.
Yeah.
And then you occasionally get the violent trisomy patient who gets into violent altercations and breaks the sutures and comes loose. And so I tended not to operate for keratoconus on people who were not really responsible for their own actions. And I had picked up several patients from finding out that the child functions well, can get dressed, plays games, gets along with the rest of the people, all this, but just can't see very well. But they see well enough to do what they need to do. Mm-hmm. They don't read, so they don't need 20/20 vision. And they're better off not operating on them and getting into these complications, possibly losing the eye. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a matter of evaluating the whole patient. I mean, I think you'd be smart enough not to rub your eyes after surgery if you had a corneal transplant for your kid.
Yeah, no kidding, or ever for that matter. But yeah, it's really interesting. People do that. Now, have we profiled the second book that you wanted to talk about?
Well, that's it's just examination of the eye, and it's mostly I wrote that for medical students and eye residents, and I get into more detailed examination of the eye, like using a slit lamp, which is the thing they look at you with a microscope. You put your chin up on a little shelf and they look at you with a slit beam. The slit beam has special optical properties that allow you to see things like little excrescences on the back of the cornea that reflect light, but you can't see them with general light. You have to have a slit beam. Mm-hmm. And how to check pressures in the eye and how to do visual fields and things. It's a thing for residents because they aren't getting taught that in medical school.
What can people like me with keratoconus or fading eye, I'm nearsighted in the other eye, what can people do are there good vitamins we can take, or what other things can we do to improve our eye care,
Well, there isn't really much you can do, but besides the collagen shrinking, which has just been approved, and laser treatment.
Mm-hmm. What about taking more lutein or anything like? What about taking lutein or any of those like herbal remedies? Do they help with eye health?
They've been proposed. I'm not sure that's it's something to try, but I'm not sure it's going to do the job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just always want to do everything you can to take care of your eyes, right?
Oh yeah.
What else do you do? Do you do speaking, consulting, coaching on people with eye conditions?
Well, I retired 25 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm living in a retirement community right now, and I gave a lecture on eye care. It wasn't very well attended, but I give a lecture every month on travel. When I was 17 years old, I went around the world. It was a college course. I got 8 hours credit in geography, and I went around the world. And it was a tremendous experience. And when I went to Purdue in the fall, nobody cared if I'd been out of the state. But it's one of those things. But I've traveled very extensively, especially since I retired. And I took a lot of pictures. I gave a talk on that. But, I taught for 40 years in ophthalmology, and then when I retired, my first wife died of leukemia about the time I retired, and I remarried, and my second wife was the wife of a lawyer before, and she was very, very intelligent. She loved to travel, so we traveled a great deal and had friends that liked to travel, so we traveled in groups and went to places like Mongolia, Morocco, Egypt, Jordan, East Africa, all northern hemisphere. I only went across the equator once, and that was in Tanzania at the sign that said the equator was there. The little boys were there with the jug of water and a pan with a hole in the bottom of it.
Oh, wow.
And a matchstick. They'd pour the water in the pan and put the matchstick in, and it would twirl in one direction. And then they go over to the other side of the thing and do the same thing and twirl the opposite direction. And that's the way sailors used to know if they'd crossed the equator. When the swirling went the other way, and your commode flushes in the other direction, south of the equator.
That's true. I always tease my Australian friends that come on the show about that. I'm like, you guys are always flipping around one way or another. So is your book a good way for consumers, people, normal people that have issues with eyesight, way they can get educated so they can advocate for themselves when they see their eye doctor then?
Well, the Hey Doc, What's Wrong with My Eye is a good book for that. I have a disclaimer in the front of it that I'm not treating the eye. I'm just telling you what's going on so you can. Part of it is ask better questions to the doctor when you go to see him and understand what they're telling you. And you read the anatomy part, you can understand what he's saying if he's using medical terms. And that's the thing. The other thing that would be interesting, in my first book, when I retired, my wife said, I married you for life, but not for lunch, so keep busy. And so I sat down. I sat down and started writing stories of patients I remembered. And I got up to 100 of them. And I said, if I put these in a book, it might interest somebody into going into medicine.
Yeah.
And so they're books like the belly dancer needed abdominal surgery. And the woman thought she had worms in her eyes. And there's just a whole lot of interesting patients I had over the years that there's 95 of them or 90 of them in the book. And there's a couple of stories in there about my residents. I had 90 residents over my career. So I trained 90 ophthalmologists. So I didn't feel bad when I retired. But I did that. I had fellows, and that's people that have done a residency and they want to specialize. And since I was a cornea specialist, they came to me to specialize in cornea. And I did that 18 years at the University of Texas, and then came up to Pittsburgh here and spent 13 years at St. Francis Medical Center before it went bankrupt and got sold out to the university. But had 12 residents a year in Texas and 6 residents a year at St. Francis. So it's a 3-year residency. And so they were seeing a huge volume of patients. That's why I saw all these interesting patients, because all the residents were seeing patients, and I'd go in and see them after they checked them out, and got a huge volume of interesting patients. And one fellow walking down the road, the truck went by and hit him in the eye with a rock.
What the hell?
And he put up with it for 3 or 4 days. But he told us when one bottle of Old Thunderbird wouldn't kill the pain, he'd come in to see us. So
a Thunderbird.
Very interesting things. I had another patient that lost his eye. He was clearing brush and got hit in the eye with a branch. And he wound up sitting at home with it for 3 or 4 days. Came in to see us. He had bubbles in his eye, which is a bad sign. Usually means there's bacteria in the eye that are making gas. And so we took out the eye before it spread to his brain. And he had indemnity insurance, $10,000 for loss of a hand or an eye or a foot, this kind of thing. And he went in to collect on that and found out that he had paid the extra for triple indemnity. So instead of $10,000, he got $30,000. And next time he came in to see me, his wife was going around the waiting room telling everybody, this guy is so wonderful. He's a super guy. He got the money and he bought me a double wide, the best one I've ever had. And so, it was that kind of thing. This guy had also survived Guadalcanal in World War II.
Wow.
And when we'd go see him, he'd have to tell us how he survived Guadalcanal. And so, interesting fellow, run across all kinds. And had a little old lady that sat in the dark for years. Every time a new doctor came to Galveston, she'd go see him. And they said, well, you have to go to Houston to get this taken care of. She needed a corneal transplant. She said, well, my husband and I, we never go to Houston. We stay here in Galveston. And I showed up in Galveston. Corneal transplants was my big thing. So I said, we'll do a corneal transplant. And the day after surgery, she was going around the waiting room telling everybody, I was happy as if I had good sense. This is the first time I've been without pain for 30 years.
That is awesome.
And, they were interesting people.
There you go.
Very wealthy people. I had some very poor people. Had one fellow who's very wealthy, and somebody messed up his cataract surgery, and I had to fix it. And the next day he was without pain and could see 20/40 with the lens and everything. Wow. And he wound up sponsoring my research for 4 years. So that was a very convenient thing.
So as we go out, give people a final pitch out to order up your book, get to know more about you, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, they go to my website. It'll tell them how to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But the books were all published by an outfit in Bloomington, Indiana, called Author House. And there's actually 5 different publishers under Author House, and I've used 3 of them for different reasons. Some of them do better with color prints. Some of them do better with certain kinds of books. So I did that. I wrote that first book I wrote. My wife told me to keep busy. It's called The Joy of Medical Practice, 40 Years of Interesting Patients. And that's the one that has all those stories. And I used to say it's kind of bedtime reading. You read one of the 4-page chapters and it puts you to sleep. So, but I also said you could read it in the bathroom. And one of my surgeon friends said, "You show me a man that reads in the bathroom, I'll show you a man with hemorrhoids." So isn't that good?
Good one. That's a good one.
Well,
Well,
I wrote a book about my father. My father was a doctor. When he was 17 years old, he went out duck hunting. He lived along the Missouri River. And he put a shotgun down over a fence and went off, shot off his left thumb. He got pellets in his left eye. He lost his left eye.
Oh, no.
That's before he graduated from high school.
Jesus.
And he worked his way. Well, he sold aluminum ware door to door during the summers. And after he graduated from high school, he got a teacher's certificate and taught one-room school for 3 years and lived at home, saved his money to go to college. Got a BA and a BAS degree from the University of Missouri. And they had a 2-year medical school, the first 2 years of medical school. So he got into that. He finished that and went to Washington University in St. Louis for his last 2 years. But one summer he got a job on a pipeline. They were spreading a pipeline across Missouri, and he was one of the men that went into the ditch when they hit rock or clay or a lot of roots. They'd have to get down the ditch and dig it by hand. And after the first day, his hands were all blistered. And he went to the foreman and said, what can I do to fix these blisters? And the foreman says, "Why are your hands so soft?" She says, "Well, I go to medical school during the rest of the year." And he goes, "Oh, you go to medical school, you must be smart." And he said, "Well, smart enough to go to medical school." And he said, "Well, I need somebody smart to carry the dynamite."
Oh, wow.
So my father carried the dynamite all summer.
Oh, wow.
He was smart enough to take the blasting caps out of the box with the dynamite. So when he dropped the dynamite, nothing happened. So, but he met my mother waiting tables at her boarding house during college. And, he set his mind to it. He grew up on a farm, a little boy in Missouri, and made his way through medical school. And he became president of the Illinois chapter of the American ACS, American College of Surgeons, in Illinois. And I never got to watch him do surgery, because the week before I was coming home from college to watch him do the surgery, one of the other doctor's sons came. And as soon as he made the incision, the guy passed out, hit the floor, got a gash in his head, and half the operating room was diverted to looking after him. So they wouldn't let anybody else come in and observe in the operating room, so I didn't get to see him operate.
Oh, wow. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
He was quite an inspiration to me and to a lot of people.
Made you want to become a doctor?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Wonderful stuff there. Thank you, John.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Order up John's book wherever fine books are sold. It's called Hey Doc, What's Wrong with My Eye? A General Guide to Eye Symptoms, out June 29th, 2017. Probably a good thing to find out what your eye, and please take care of your eye health. I wish I'd taken better care of mine. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTok and all those crazy places in it. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have